A cashier was fired for giving $6 to a poor old man, but she had no regrets. The next day, she received a strange envelope with a check for $10,000, along with the mysterious inscription, "Kindness never goes in vain." No one knows who sent the money, but it was this unexpected gift that completely changed her life. From an unemployed girl struggling to survive in a new town, she becomes the supervisor of a large supermarket where kindness is no longer a reason to be punished. But who is behind the check? And why did they choose her? Welcome to Kindness Stories, where small acts of kindness can make a big difference. Today we'll explore the inspiring story of a girl who was fired for her act of kindness. But that moment opened an unexpected door, leading her on a life-changing journey. Olivia took a deep breath before stepping through the automatic glass doors of Fresh Mart. The air inside was a far cry from the chill outside. The smell of freshly baked bread mixed with the scent of fresh flowers in the produce aisle. The steady beep of the barcode scanner mingled with the chatter of customers and employees. She glanced at the clock on the wall, 2:45 p.m. It wasn't yet rush hour, but there was still a steady stream of people coming and going. Olivia adjusted her green apron and pulled her hair back into a ponytail. It was her third day of work, but she was exhausted. The cashier's pay wasn't much, just enough to cover her mother's medical bills and the utilities. Still, Olivia remained optimistic. "As long as I try, everything will be fine," she told herself. As soon as she stepped into counter number 4, she heard manager Elaine's voice echoing from the opposite side. "Olivia, straighten that row of gum. Next time I see it this messy, I'll dock your pay." Elaine's voice was icy, hard, and decisive. Olivia hurried to fix the gum, though she couldn't help but feel annoyed. Just a few sticks that got out of place, she thought. But she didn't argue. Elaine was the kind of manager who respected the rules, no matter the situation. When she finished, Olivia quickly returned to the counter, where an older man had just arrived with a cart. He looked tired, slightly hunched, and wore an old army jacket that was frayed at the shoulders. His eyes were worried. Olivia gave him a gentle smile, as she did with every customer. "Hello, sir, how are you? Can I help you?" The man nodded slightly, placing each item on the conveyor belt. A loaf of bread, a carton of eggs, a package of pasta, and a small carton of milk. There weren't many items, but given his slow pace, he must have thought carefully before choosing. When Olivia finished scanning, the number displayed on the screen was $19.57.
Oh, gosh.
"What's the idea? Why took my phone?"
I don't know.
"That's $19.57, sir," she said softly. He bowed his head slightly and rummaged through his coat pockets. He placed each coin carefully on the counter, but when he counted it, it totaled only $12.75. His face showed confusion and embarrassment. "Wait a minute. I think I have some coins in my other pocket." He turned to rummage in his pockets, but there was nothing but a few old pieces of paper. He was clearly trying to hide his embarrassment, but he couldn't hide the heavy look in his eyes. He turned to rummage in his pockets, but there was nothing but a heavy look in his eyes. Olivia looked at him, feeling a pang of pity. Just over $6 short. She glanced at the line behind her, seeing a few impatient customers. One woman sighed and muttered, "Gosh, what's taking so long?" Olivia swallowed, thinking for a moment. She couldn't let him be embarrassed. "It's okay, sir. I have some change here," Olivia said softly, then quickly pulled a $10 bill from her pocket and swiped her card to pay. He looked at her, stunned. You don't have to do that. I don't want to bother you." "It's okay, sir. Just make sure you bring enough money next time," Olivia said, trying to keep her voice cheerful. The man stood still for a few seconds. Then his eyes filled with tears. "You are a good girl," he said, his voice hoarse. "Corey, have a nice day," she smiled. Little did she know that at that moment, in the hidden corner of the supermarket, there was a pair of eyes watching her. It was Elaine. That afternoon passed as usual, but near the end of her shift, Elaine called Olivia into her office. The small room had transparent glass walls, enough for the other employees to see the two of them inside. Elaine sat opposite, her fingers tapping lightly on the table. "Olivia, I have something to say." Elaine's voice was cold as usual. Olivia sat down, her heart pounding. "I saw you paying a customer today." Olivia raised her head, trying to stay calm. "Yes, that's right. He didn't have enough money, and I thought." "You are not allowed to think in this job, Olivia," Elaine interrupted. Her voice was firmer. "But it was only $6, and he really needed food. I didn't take company money. I used my own money." "Rules are rules," Elaine said, folding her arms across her chest. "If everyone did what you did, the system would go haywire. Today it's $6, tomorrow it's $60. The company can't control that. You're breaking our policy." "What?" Olivia looked Elaine straight in the eyes. "I'm just trying to do the right thing." "It is right not to pay you," Elaine insisted. She pulled out the dismissal letter and placed it in front of Olivia. "You are fired immediately. Sign here." The air in the room froze. Olivia stared at the paper, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she could plead, apologize, or argue. But she didn't. She had done the right thing, and she didn't regret it. Slowly, she picked up the pen and signed her name. "I think I'll be fine," she said, looking up at Elaine. Her voice wasn't shaky, but firm, confident. Elaine didn't reply. She took the dismissal letter and set it aside. Olivia walked out of the office, feeling like the whole supermarket was staring at her. She saw a few concerned glances from her co-workers. She also saw Mr. Harris standing near the cash register, looking at her gratefully. He raised his hand to greet her, a small smile on his lips. As she walked out of the supermarket, Olivia took a deep breath. The sky above was brighter than ever. She didn't know what the future would bring, but in her heart, there was no regret. Kindness has no value, Olivia thought, but sometimes it's the only thing I can give. In the days after her layoff, Olivia was in a state of confusion. While she didn't regret helping Mr. Harris, the fact that she had lost her job was a huge blow to her spirit. Her savings were running low, and the bills were still coming in. Her mother's medical bills, electricity, water, gas, everything was piling up. That morning, as Olivia finished washing the dishes, she heard the mail truck stop in front of her house. The mailbox door clicked. It was a familiar sound that she usually ignored, but today, for some reason, it caught her attention. She went outside and got the mail. It was mostly bills, flyers, and a cream-colored envelope with no return address. Only her name and address were written in neat handwriting. Who would send me a letter? Olivia wondered. She opened the envelope and pulled out a small piece of paper, a short line of text, but it immediately made her freeze. Kindness is never wasted. Keep doing good, from someone who has seen you act with compassion. Underneath the paper was a check. Olivia looked at the number on it in surprise. It was from Sarah Grail. "Oh, Livy. It's for $1,200, Sarah. Choose whatever price works for you and pay it today." She clicked on the paper, translating the check, and the card began to turn red. Olivia sighed. $1,000 USD. Her heart was pounding, her hands were shaking. She almost dropped the paper. Her eyes widened. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. She picked up the check, looked at it several times to make sure she wasn't seeing things. Still, $10,000? She exclaimed, almost breathless. She rushed back home and sat down on the couch, her heart still pounding in her chest. A series of questions ran through her mind. Who sent it? Why? Who knew about her story? She thought of Mr. Harris. But he looked poor. There was no way he could have such a large sum of money. Had someone in the supermarket seen it and told the story? Her eyes stared at the words. From someone who has seen you act with compassion. An indescribable feeling welled up inside her. The kindness she thought had been ignored had not been in vain. Someone had seen it, someone had felt it, and someone had acted on it. "Mom, you have to see this!" Olivia ran into her mother's room, her eyes shining. The mother sat on the bed, her back propped up against the pillows. Though she looked frail from illness, her face radiated kindness and gentleness. "What is it, son?" she asked, her voice weak. Olivia held the check out to her mother. "Look, Mom, someone sent me $10,000. Can you believe it?" Her mother raised her eyebrows, eyes wide with surprise. She took the check, stared at the numbers, then looked at her daughter. "Really? Who would do this?" "I don't know," Olivia replied, smiling like a child given a present. "But I do know one thing. Life isn't as meaningless as you think. Kindness is always reciprocated one way or another." End of chapter 1. Read by Steve Shiner. The mother smiled, her weak hand tightly grasping her daughter's hand. "I'm proud of you, Olivia." With $10,000 in her hand, Olivia felt like her whole world had changed. First, she paid off her mortgage and her mother's medical bills. She had enough left over to buy food and a few other necessities. But instead of spending it all on herself, Olivia decided to do what she thought was right. "If someone has trusted me with this money, then I must use it to spread kindness," she thought. She donated $1,000 to a nonprofit that helps veterans in need. The image of Mr. Harris is still imprinted in her mind. She knows there are many people like him out there who need a helping hand. But Olivia didn't stop at just donating. Every afternoon she went to a shelter to help prepare and distribute free meals to the homeless. Once focused on paying the bills, Olivia realized she could do more. "Olivia, are you free today? The food distribution center is short of people to prepare meals," the relief center manager called to ask her. "Yes, I'll be right there," Olivia replied, her voice cheerful. She had never felt so meaningful in her life. Now, her days were filled with acts of kindness. One day, while distributing rice, a woman in her 40s approached her. "You're Olivia, right? I read about you on social media. You're the girl who paid for the old man in the supermarket, right?" Olivia was surprised, not expecting her story to spread so widely. "Yes, but how do you know?" The woman smiled. Her mother's post in that community group. She talked about her daughter, and her story touched thousands of people. I was touched too. "Ignore it." Olivia smiled shyly. She had no idea her mother had shared this story. Less than a week later, she received a call from a major retail company. "Hello, Olivia. I'm Maya, the HR manager of Green Mart Supermarket. We've heard about your story. I'd like to invite you to an interview for our customer supervisor position." Olivia was surprised. "Supervising customers? But I've only ever been a cashier." "That's why we wanted to hire you. We need people who care about customers, and you've shown that in your actions." The interview took place a week later. This time, Olivia no longer felt self-conscious or nervous. "Well, were you fired from your last company?" the director asked. "Because I did the right thing," she replied frankly. Maya smiled. "That's why we want you here." Olivia got the job, with more than double the salary of her old job. Now she was standing at the checkout counter of the new supermarket. That day, an elderly woman came to pay. She put bread and milk on the conveyor belt, but when it was time to pay, she realized she didn't have enough money. Olivia just smiled slightly. "It's okay, Grandma, I'll pay this time," she said, and swiped her card. Her kindness never runs out, and now she knows that kindness will always be returned. Now back to the story. The gentle morning sunlight filtered through the large glass windows of Green Mart, illuminating each neatly arranged shelf. The atmosphere here was completely different from where Olivia had worked before. Instead of the tense, pressured atmosphere caused by rigid regulations, Green Mart was filled with friendliness and warmth. Olivia is no longer a cashier behind the counter. She wears a supervisor's uniform with a small badge on her chest that bears her name, Olivia, Customer Supervisor. Once fired for being kind, she is now the one who can decide customer service policies. Olivia, there's a customer at checkout number 3 who needs assistance. An employee's voice came over the intercom. Olivia walked quickly toward counter number 3, where an elderly woman was fumbling with her purse. Olivia recognized the confused look on her face. It was exactly like Mr. Harris's. "Can I help you?" Olivia asked gently. The old lady looked up at her eyes shy. "I think I forgot my wallet at home. I don't know what to do now." The old lady awkwardly put down each item, clearly intending to leave without buying anything else. Olivia didn't hesitate. She turned to the cashier and said softly, "Cashier, we will credit this bill to the customer support fund. You can take your things home, no need to worry." "Hey, but you can't get something like this for free," the old lady was surprised. The orchestra built up to the beat, and the orchestra started. "While it'd be great to hear some." Olivia bent down slightly, looked straight into the old woman's eyes, and smiled. "You have done so much for this life. Today, let me give you a little in return. Tomorrow, all you need to do is come back here and smile at me." The cashier looked at Olivia with admiration. This was the emergency customer support policy that she had proposed directly in a meeting with the supermarket's senior management. The old lady looked at her with teary eyes and a trembling voice. "Thank you, you are a very kind girl." "I'm just doing what you would do," Olivia replied. When her shift ended, Olivia stopped at her desk, a small table in the back of the Green Mart office area. On the table was a small photo frame containing a photo of her and her mother walking in the park. Her phone vibrated. It was a text from her mother. "Helen? Mom, are you coming home early tonight? I made your favorite stew." Olivia smiled. She texted back, "Child, yes, I will come home early. Today is a beautiful day, Mom." Mom. She leaned back in her chair and took a deep breath. She no longer had to worry about bills, her mother's medicine, or other small expenses. Things were much more stable than before. The $10,000 had not only helped her through a difficult time, but also given her the opportunity to change herself and her outlook on life. She no longer had to spend her evenings counting pennies or worrying about whether she had enough money to buy medicine for her mother. She realized that kindness, even small acts, can lead to big changes. A few days later, Olivia received an invitation from a local TV show. They had heard about her story through her mother's social media posts. At first, she was shy about appearing on TV, but her mother encouraged her. "You don't need to say anything fancy. Just tell the truth, like you did to that old man." Olivia agreed. The interview went smoothly, but what surprised her the most was that the host had prepared a short video about her story. It included images from her mother's post, comments from netizens, and photos of people thanking her for her kind act. "Olivia, what were you thinking when you decided to pay the old man that day?" the host asked. "I didn't really think about it," Olivia replied, her voice modest. "I just thought that if I can help someone in any way I can, I should. It doesn't have to be a big thing. Sometimes, even $6 can make a difference." Her answer left the audience silent for a moment before applause erupted. After the interview, Olivia received many messages from strangers. Some thanked her for showing them that kindness still exists. Others shared that they wanted to do something similar with their own lives. Olivia learned a big lesson from all that happened. Kindness doesn't need to be seen to be meaningful, but if it is seen, it can spread to unexpected places. Exercise delivers energy. Coach Jack Baldwin refers to it as the high fuel. Now, she's not just a customer service supervisor, but a beacon of compassion to her coworkers and customers. Cashiers, customers, and even senior management know her. And they've learned that not all rule breaking is wrong. Sometimes it's what makes an organization more sustainable. Olivia continues to volunteer every weekend. Even though no one asked her to, she always remembers the day when she had only $20 in her pocket and decided to give away $6 of it. That was the moment she realized that giving wasn't about being rich, but about understanding the value of sharing. That evening, Olivia sat in the living room with her mother. The television screen played a news report of her interview. Her mother sipped her tea, looking at her daughter with pride. "Did you ever think that from a $10,000 check my life would change like this?" Olivia asked with a smile. Her mother shook her head and put down her teacup. "No, I don't think about that. But I always knew that your life would definitely change, not because of money, but because of your heart." There is a tasty piece of deviled meat in the hostess's cabinet. Olivia looked at her mother, her eyes sparkling. "And you're the one who taught me that." Mother and daughter burst out laughing. Olivia felt warmer than ever. That's right, she thought to herself. Kindness not only changes the lives of others, but it changes your own. And it's a story about how a small act can make a big difference. Kindness doesn't always get reciprocated right away, but it always finds its way back. If this story resonates with you, please share it to spread the message of compassion. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next meaningful stories on kindnessstories.com. Remember, you always have the power to change someone's life, just with a small act of kindness.